welcome to Abby's Book Reviews. This video is about the autumn book bingo I'm taking part in and what books I have sourced out for it. So here goes. I apologise if it is long. So there are 49 different categories and you have to pick a book to fit with each category and then try to read as many as possible. You are allowed to match one book to more than one category if you so desire, and I did that with 3 books because I couldn't think of anything for 3 categories. So first up is Person on the Cover, and I chose Wonderwoman by Leigh Bardugo, which has come out but I haven't received my book yet. I wonder if something's up with the delivery or order or something, if they sold so many that they can't fulfill all of them. But yeah, so that's that one. Set in the Past is King's Spy by Andrew Swanston. This is set during the English Civil War and I have had this on my TBR for a year and a half, so I do need to read it. Book by a male author, I chose Godsgrave by J. Christoph, and that is due out next week, and I have a box coming from Mark the Page and I cannot wait to get it. Book under 300 pages, I chose Fairest of All, which is by Serena Valentino, and it is the story of the evil queen. So can't wait for that one. A full release, so many other books could have come under that, but I chose One Dark Crown by Kendra Clare. That is the second in the 3 Dark Crowns series and I am so looking forward to it. A suspenseful thriller, I chose Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerry Manislow. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I have been looking at getting this book for a year and I finally did it and I cannot wait to read it. Dystopian, so I chose Tarnished City by Vic James, and it is the second in the series. The first one is Gilded Cage and it was so good and I managed to get an arc for it, so I did read it early, which was amazing, and cannot wait for Tarnished City. So that's the first column. The second column, character different from you, I chose The Traitor's Kiss by Erin Beatty. So many books could fit this because I never match the main character. So, but yeah, I went with this one. Haven't really heard anything about it, but you know, a retelling. So I went with Poor Unfortunate Soul, which is Tale of the Sea Queen, therefore Ursula, and it was also by Serena Valentino. LGBTQ, and I went with Of Fire and Stars by Audrey Coulthurst. This I got in a book box at the beginning of the year and I haven't read it yet, so I thought it would be a way to read it. Strong Friendship, I went with The Mime Order, which is the second in the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon, and it is a beast of a book, but I'm going to go through it anyway. Black cover, I went with one that isn't fully black, but is mostly black, which is Everland by Wendy Spinell. This is the first in a series. I think there's a prequel novella and there is also the second one, which is Unbland. This is a kind of retelling on Peter Pan. Unbland is then kind of Alice in Wonderland. Read a middle grade, I chose The Silver Mask by Holly Black and Cassandra Clare. That hasn't come out yet, but I cannot wait for it to come out and I knew I couldn't wait until Christmas to read it, so I decided that I needed to read it now. Read a book of pirates, and I went with Deadmen Walking by Sherilyn Kenyon, and I love the look of this book and the feel of it, and I know I'm going to enjoy it. So, third column, hyped book, I went with Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and it is so hyped. The whole Grisha trilogy and Six of Crows duology, both hyped, so I decided I would start with the first one. Bottom of TBR, I went with The Devil in Marshalsea. It is a historical crime book, and I bought it over a year ago when I was into that kind of thing, and then kind of forgot about it, so I'm going to try and read it. Can be read in a day, I went with The Beast Within. It is obviously the Beast story, also by Serena Valentino, and it's nice and thin, so yep. Definitely within a day. Culture I'm familiar with, I went with The Bone Season, even though I think it's kind of a historical London, I'm not entirely sure. Also by Samantha Shannon. and I just went with it anyway. If it's historical, you still don't really know what the culture's like. Historical fiction, I went with The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee, and I cannot wait to read that one. Book by a female author. This could fit so many of the authors that I have, but I went with Now I Rise by Kirsten White. And yeah, I think I've got the first one also in my challenge. Time travel, I went with Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. This also fits for one later on, which is Steamy Romance. And this has been on my TBR forever. I decided that I wanted to read them before I watch the series, and I need to read the first one before I decide if it's worth getting the rest. Column 4, read a book entirely outdoors. I went with The Ice Dragon by George R.R. Martin, and it is nice and thin, so definitely can read that one in outdoors, probably in a day as well. Book you know nothing about is The Waking Land by Callie Bates. This would also fit for quite a few of my books, but yeah, I just bought it because it's pretty. The way you buy books, right? Mythical or supernatural creatures, I went with Before She Ignites by Jodie Meadows. That is a book I am hoping I get in a book box this month, I think. Yeah, I kind of thought it was coming and I was like, that one fits. So yeah, hopefully I'm getting it. If not, I'm going to have to buy it. So, Free Space. I went with Hunting Prince Dracula, which is the second in the series after Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerry Manislow. And yeah, I've got it on pre-order, so I need to read it. Horror or paranormal, I went with House of Fury by Mandolin Rue, and it looks like a really creepy book, and I don't do creepy books. This also fits with a creepy cover, which is later on in the challenge, and I do think it looks really creepy. So I'm going to try and read it during the day, not too close to bed, because otherwise I might freak myself out. Published this year. So many of my books could be published this year, but you know. The Song Rising by Samantha Shannon. This is the third one in the series, and this is where it's up to so far, so I will be all caught up. Book with orange on the cover. So I went with Fireblood by Ellie Blake. It's the second in the Frostblood series, and I already have Dark Blood, which is the third one on pre-order. I am that far ahead. Column 5. I went with a book that I cannot find at the moment, but I know it is somewhere in my house, and that is Clockwork Angel for Parallel Universe. It is by Cassandra Clare. It also works for steampunk as well, and it is the first in the Infernal Devices trilogy to do with Shadowhunters. So I'm really looking forward to reading that one. Diverse. I went with The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Abertali. Don't really know much about it, apart from it is contemporary, which I don't normally do, so I thought this is a way for me to get through some I don't normally do. I've just realised it doesn't have a sword or a dagger on the cover, which is the criteria, but I don't think any of my books that I haven't read do. So I went with one that has an arrow on the cover, and that is Valentine by Jodie McAllister. I got it a few months ago from YA Chronicles box, and I haven't really looked at it since, so I'm going to read that one. Set in school. So I went with Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, and I got this book a month or two ago, and I cannot wait to read it. Book with over 600 pages, and I went with Tower of Dawn. Because I am getting it next week, hopefully, fingers crossed it will come for next week. I'm getting it from the YA Chronicles. I'm also getting a box from Mark the Page, so I'm hoping one of the boxes will arrive next week, because it does come out on Tuesday. Book with low ratings. So I don't normally look at ratings and stuff, so I did, and none of my books seem to be 1 or 2 stars on Goodreads, but I did have one that was a 3 point something, and that was Roseblood by A.G. Howard. And it's a retelling on Phantom of the Opera, which I love, so I'm hoping I will enjoy it. Column 6, author you love. I went with The Near Witch by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab, depending what she's writing. This is the only book I have by her that I haven't read yet, and I do love her dearly, and I loved meeting her at YALC as well. Favourite colour on the cover? My favourite colour is purple, and I don't really have many purple books, but A Crown of Wishes does have purple down the bottom, so it fits, and I also love this green colour. But yeah, A Crown of Wishes by Roshani Chokshi, and I loved the novella Death and Night, and I loved the Star Touched Queen, so I'm hoping I enjoy the companion novel just as much. Anthology, I went with Because You Love to Hate Me, which is by 13 different authors in collaboration with 13 booktubers, and it sounds so good. Recommended to me. So I don't really have many books recommended to me, but I did see Ellie from Australia, who is on Instagram as Fanatical Fantasy, do a review on a book, and it was Ink by Alice Broadway, and I decided from her review on it I had to buy it, even if it was just because of the cover, so I'm going with that one. With Ghosts, so I'm going with Even the Darkest Stars by Heather Fawcett. This is a book I've also heard is coming up in a book box, so I'm hoping I get it. If not, I'm going to have to go out and buy it. But anyway, Set in Fall. So the book before this one in the series is set like in September, so I'm hoping this one is still set in the fall. It's The Raven King by Maggie Stiefvater, and it's the last one in the series, and I've been putting it off for a good few months, and I'm now getting around to having to read it, but I might put it off until like November. Final column is Set Where You Want to Visit, and I would love to visit the Great Library of Alexandria if it still existed. So I'm going with Ash and Quill by Rachel Kane because it is set at the Great Library. Book that scares you as in intimidates you is definitely Strange the Dreamer by Lani Taylor. Partially because it is so big, and partially because I don't want to damage it. I hate damaging books, and I don't know how I'm going to transport this like to work and back. But yeah, so this book definitely intimidates me. New to you author, I went with Nevernight by Jay Kristoff, who I spoke about earlier, for Godsgrave. This is the first one, so I need to read it before I get to Godsgrave. And I've never read anything by him before. Revenge, I went with The Wrath and the Dawn by Renée Adahay. I read Flame in the Mist earlier this year, which was amazing, and I decided I had to read the rest of her books, so I should start at the beginning. Standalone. I don't have many standalones, but I did get one recently, which was Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Foody, so I decided it should definitely be the book for this challenge. And last up is Anti-Hero, so I went with And I Darken by Kirsten White, which is the first one before Now I Rise that I talked about earlier, so I'm going to be reading both of those. That is all the books that I am reading for the autumn bingo, and I hope that you enjoyed that. It might give you some inspiration as to some books. If you are ever doing a bingo, it might help you fit books into where they should be and stuff, and what they might go under. But yeah, I am so looking forward to doing this book bingo, and I have 91 days to read 46 books, so it's less than 2 days a book, and I'm really hoping I manage to pull it off. I don't think I'm going to read all of them. I'm already setting myself up for that, but I'm hoping I get through a good chunk of them. And my main TBR pile is now so much smaller for taking all of these books out. So yeah, I'm finally maybe getting through my TBR pile, which is ever growing and will definitely be growing quite a bit over the fall. I hope you enjoyed that and enjoy the book you are reading.